3 things successful authors do that unsuccessful authors don't do. Hey, it's Brian Dixon, and in this video, I'm gonna walk you through 3 differences between successful authors that have a long career, write multiple best-selling books, speaking tours, really doing amazing work for a long time. The difference between them and people who quit, people who never publish a book, people who never really go for it. What's the difference between these two? And there's being a writing coach for over 10 years and interviewing literally hundreds of successful authors. Here are my top 3 observations that will help you as you consider your career as a writer. The first difference between a successful author and an unsuccessful author is the amount of time they've been doing it. Now, I know what you may be thinking, Brian, but what? Like, it takes me 10 years to be an overnight success? Yes, that's the point. Successful authors have been doing it for a really, really long time. And the way for you to become a successful author is to do it for a really long time. And so committing to the process, committing to the industry, saying, this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I believe in, and I'm going to do this for life, is the key difference. Anybody who's really successful has been doing it for a really long time. There's no such thing as overnight success. If they write a book that just takes off out of nowhere, they were already living a life worthy about writing about. It took them like at least a year to write the book. So if you're just getting started and you're also getting frustrated, understand that success happens over time. It takes a long time to be an overnight success. And so commit to doing this for the long term. I like to think about the length of my life, like how much time do I have here on earth? And if I look at my grandfather on my father's side, and grandfather on my mother's side, both of them were in their early 80s. So if I have until my early 80s, that means I have another 30 something years. So I can either decide to try a little bit and then quit, or just to do it for 30 years. And if I do it for 30 years, I'm going to be so much further in 30 years than I am right now. So might as well do it for 30 years. So however many years you have left, what if you spent the rest of your days doing the thing you want to do? An author, and figuring out how to do it, and just committing to the process for a long time. That's a huge difference between the successful authors and the unsuccessful authors. In fact, I would even add to this, and I would say the successful authors have this level of resilience, and they've been able to pivot and to adjust their message over time, where the unsuccessful authors might be successful for 1 or 2 projects, but then something changes and they don't change as well. And so they never really find that commit to one message rather than committing to the life, committing to the industry. So it's kind of like a musician that's like really in a certain kind of music. It's like, maybe don't commit to that particular trend, commit to being a musician, and you're going to do it for life. So commit for the long term. Number 2, difference between unsuccessful authors and successful authors is that successful authors are willing to walk through the humble beginnings. Every successful author started somewhere really small. Even if their first big book deal was a big deal, they still started small. They took a job that led to the career that they have, or they humbled themselves and had to apply for school, and they didn't even get into the school that they wanted to get into. Like, there's a humble beginning. They started writing in the cracks of time between feeding the baby at night. Like, they were not necessarily satisfied with the humble beginning, but they pushed through it. They pushed through the humble beginning. And in fact, I would even say most successful authors that I've spoken to, we embrace the humble beginning. We know that there's joy in the journey, there's heart in the hustle, there's grace in the grind. It's kind of fun to be new. because you know that you're not new forever. The longer you do something, the more you continuously practice it and revise as you practice, make it better as you practice, the longer you do it, the better you'll get at it. And so being okay being a beginner and not despising the small beginnings, but rejoicing to see the work begin, because that's what God does. Zechariah 4:10. The small beginnings make the glory of the big stage even sweeter, because you know what it was like. You know what it was like when 6 people showed up to your event. You know what it's like when you made an offer through your email list and 0 people bought or 1 person bought. You know what it was like to start and to grow slow. So do not despise the small beginnings. Rejoice to see the work begin, to know that humble beginnings are part of it. And so what that looks like specifically is to say yes to nearly every opportunity, not get too big for your britches, not to have an opportunity that's beneath you. So for example, if it's speaking, you've never spoken at a conference. Oh, I'm only going to speak at a conference if they pay my travel. Well, then you'll probably never speak at conferences. So what about being willing to speak at a conference that doesn't pay your travel, but has something else that they can offer? They're offering a speaking slot. So that alone might be worth it for you. And so not to have a default, oh, family comes first, I'm not able to pursue that opportunity, but instead having a growth mindset and asking, how could I do this? How could I make this make sense for me? I would say that until you've been doing it for a while, your compass is broken. If you're a freshman, your compass is broken. You've got to grow through the freshman year and the sophomore year and the junior year until you finally have the things figured out. And so if you don't have things figured out, or you think you have things figured out but things aren't working, then you actually don't have things figured out. So allow mentorship in your life, allow flexibility, teachable, so that you can learn and so that you can grow. So difference number, successful authors commit to the long term. They're playing the long game. They're doing this for life. Difference number 2 is that they embrace the small beginnings. They rejoice to see the work begin. They know that humility and doing the grunt work is just part of the process. And then finally, number 3, you've got to be a servant. See yourself as a servant. Come to serve rather than to be served. Where is there a gap? Where is there an opportunity? The person who asks, ooh, has anyone ever done this? Is this something that would help you? Have you ever considered? To be an asker, to be somebody who knocks, what happens? Doors are opened. To see someone who asks a question, you'll get an answer. So to be an asker, to be a knocker, to be a servant, to show up and serve, to look around and say, it'd be really cool. It'd be really cool if there was an online membership that interviewed other authors about being an author. That would be really cool with a Christian perspective. That would be really cool for midlife Christian women. That would be really cool. That's where we started Hope Writers. We created Hope Writers to solve a problem that we had. We wanted to learn from our friends and have a regularly scheduled interview, which we do Tuesday teaching. We've been doing it for 11 years. Every Tuesday at noon, we interview a successful Christian author, mostly female. Same thing for you. Find a gap and be a gap filler. Find a problem and be the problem solver. And if you do those 3 things, commit to the long term, you don't despise the small beginnings, and you become a gap filler, you become a solution provider, over time it's going to grow. And before you know it, you're going to be a successful author. I hope that encourages today. You have a message to share and an audience to serve, and it's time to get to work.